Our 25-year cost of doing nothing was upwards of $200,000. We're in the thick of it, guys. This is really where it starts to get ugly.
What's really going to happen is we're expecting to see like a 30 to 35 to even maybe 40% increase.
We are currently at historic highs, and we've been lingering at historic highs, and it's only going to get worse. There is a light at the end of the tunnel.
They got $13 power bills, man. They're sitting back relaxing.
Thank you for saying that. It's not magic. It's simply math.
Welcome to the 28th episode of the Solar Power Hour. It's been a little bit of a long month for us, so we haven't been super active, but we're back at it again. So we have a lot of exciting stuff to talk about. I'm William Grant, your host.
And I'm Austin Barry, your co-host.
Absolutely.
Thank you for tuning in, guys. It's going to be a doozy. As the world continues to go on fire, we got to keep bringing the good, the bad, and the ugly. That never changes. And boy, do we have a little bit of everything for you guys today. So, Will, what do you want to kick off with?
Well, let's talk about what everybody's talking about. The power rates going up, right? And I think there's a big misconception of how the power rates are actually working. So Ameren sent out a notice about that 25% increase, but that 25% increase is only on the distribution. It's just on the power line aspect. And then when your supply contract's up, the supply rates will also go up because obviously there's not enough supply of power in the state of Illinois if you listen to any of our other podcast episodes. So what's really going to happen is we're expecting to see like a 30 to 35 to even maybe 40% increase depending on your own power supplier. And that's effective as of June 1st. So
correct. Guys, we are currently at historic highs, and we've been lingering at historic highs. A lot of this is multifaceted and it's multi-layered. It's not just a one causation that's leading to this, but I will say that, shutting down all the nuclear and coal plants, and then us trying to establish solar fields and, and to try and offset that, the demand of the solar field the supply of the solar field is being completely outweighed by the demand of these data centers that we're putting up. And we're not able to put up solar quick enough, and I would say the field aspect enough to outweigh what we're currently shutting down and what we have been shutting down for the last 10 years. California did the exact same thing a decade before us, decided to shut down all their coal plants. Their power rates are currently about 3 to 4 times higher on average than what we're paying here. That's quite literally what we're in the middle of seeing, and history repeats itself, guys. It's the same thing we've been saying for 5, 6, 7 years now, but the whole idea is that the West Coast is enduring this. That's why almost all their homes have solar on it now. That's why it's almost foreign to not see or to see a home without solar on it, because that house is just paying an astronomical amount just to keep their lights on. And so it is the tides of turning, and we are in the middle of an energy crisis. We've heard people in the industry much higher than this use this as part of their main talking point years ago. And so we're in the thick of it, guys. This is really where it starts to get ugly. Not to say that people can't afford their bill currently, but I know that everyone's feeling the pain of it more and more every year that goes by. It's more people say that this is the first time we've ever seen bills this high, 3 months in a row, 4 months in a row. We're not enjoying our pool as much. We can't enjoy our jacuzzi as much. We're scared to use everything at night because we're just, we're strapped tight enough as is. And now we've got another $200 every month with our electricity. It adds up, guys. It seriously does. And it's only going to get worse.
yeah, I was talking to a good friend of mine. He runs an ambulance company here in town, and after he found out the news about the rising rates, he had to go talk to every single one of his employees and host a whole all teams meeting essentially, just to talk about how we're gonna have to be a little bit more conservative than we have been, because when you're talking about 30% of an increase to someone's net profits, if power is a huge part of your entire expenditures and you're running on 10% margins, and then that power goes up by 30%, right? That kills, and that kills a business, kills a small business. And that's why solar has such a huge runway ahead of us as well. So I want to make something very clear. Solar is not dead. The tax credit going away on the ownership side of solar is not an issue. With the power rates going up 30% this year, the tax credit being 30% offsetting your system, now it's a wash, right? If you had no other incentives on top of it, it's just the same as it was last year. And unfortunately, it's not going to get any better soon. We saw that article recently about ComEd territory up in northern Illinois, potentially doubling the power consumption in the next 15 years. That is a massive amount of increase in consumption. And like we were talking about earlier with supply and demand and basic economics, if your demand doubles, what happens to your supply? Then it has to double. And who's going to pay for that? We're going to pay for that, right? As consumers, as business owners, even as renters, right?
And for people that are unfamiliar, ComEd is our neighboring power and utility company up north near Chicago and all that territory up there. ComEd is their main supplier, as Ameren is to us, and then Ameren covers both Illinois and Missouri. So anything that happens with ComEd, we can almost exact a, they parallel very well. Our incentives are very much in tune with theirs. So our timelines are pretty much, again, we can look at them as the big brother in terms of what we get to look towards as well. But again, with their power rates going up to what they're expected to be by 2040, I don't think it would be unfair for us to have some similar expectation for us here in Ameren territory as well. And again, it's not far-fetched. We're already experiencing it. So it's just at what rate and to what degree is it going to be in the next, again, 10 to 15 years.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And then with these AI data centers, there's some misconceptions about them. Like they'll say, hey, look, we're going to run our facility all on renewable energy. Now, are they buying that supply from a solar field out there and actually paying for the delivery and then putting that drain onto the grid? They're also saying, hey, we're going to run it with diesel generators. Well, that's really bad for the environment. We know that. Like
Right.
that's not even an if, then, or but. But if you're running a massive, massive AI data center, if you have never seen what one of these look like, you need to look them up. They are insane, way bigger even than a Amazon warehouse facility, right?
They're dystopian.
It's insane. So if you're going to be running all those on diesel generators or even natural gas, then it's taking the natural gas away from the city and the people. Diesel generators, you're still hogging all the diesel, and then you're driving gas prices up even higher than they are. Like this, a net negative for the people. The only positive is that we get this chat GBT that we can, or whatever, that we just submit our questions to and say thank you to, and
Replacing our
AI
skills.
overlords.
Correct. And I mean, I do want to say on the data centers, and from what I've been seeing over the last few weeks as they become really a main focal talking point, the public perception and backlash against them, I do find beauty in it. Driving through Pekin, so anyone out there in Pekin, I see your yard signs, guys. It was amazing. As I was running appointments out there, hundreds of them, all with a big red circle line going through the data center. I love seeing the community gathering together and just being outspoken against this. It does take obviously a large voice, but there was a video of a college graduation ceremony where the guy who was the CEO of a tech company, he was getting booed horribly by the audience because he was really pushing AI data centers during the speech, and it's not what the youth is wanting. So the next generation, I think that there is going to be a lot of pushback, but that does not change the fact that there's still tons of data centers being installed currently, and they're pushing past it. I've heard of on a legislative level where communities have tried to vote against it, and they've still been able to push past and have the data centers installed. That's a very scary position to be in, knowing that you truly, if you don't have the ability to, say, independently own as much of your power as possible with solar or batteries, you are completely subjected to whatever higher powers that own your grid or your capacity are able to do for, which I guess that'd be a good time to talk about Tahoe. What's going on up there in Nevada? It's horrifying to, again, talk about it hypothetically, but I know there's about 49,000 to 50,000 residents in Lake Tahoe that are currently staring down the barrel of a insane crisis where their power company has told them that they're going to leave them high and dry. It's been a debate and something they've been battling for, I would say, probably a year or two now. But because of the, I would just say, profits and the ability to supply power solely to data centers, the power company is taking away power from 50,000 residents and is going to supply solely power to these data centers. So that is leaving, again, this entire community with a plethora of problems. They have maybe some short-term solutions, but nothing long-term, and absolutely nothing that is not going to have a drastic, horrible impact on their power rates.
Right.
That's a horrible position to be put in as just a resident in a community. Maybe you've lived there 30, 40, 50 years, your entire life, and then you're settled. Your kids, grandkids,
Right.
that's your family, community, your business, everything that you've established and you've known, because some, gentleman in a higher position decided this is not where we're going to establish our efforts anymore. And that's one of, I'm sure that's not an isolated incident. And if it is, I am almost willing to bet a lot that it will not be an isolated incident moving forward, guys.
Absolutely. And one of the things too with these data centers and what we're looking down the barrel of, is especially talking about Pekin. So just because Pekin may get away with saying no, it doesn't mean they're not moving to the next small town that will say yes, right? Everybody has a price and everybody has a threshold, right? Every politician has a price. We've seen that. Let's not be naive on each side of the fence. Doesn't really matter. Everybody has a price. And that also goes for local legislation, and then also constituents, right? People, what benefit are they going to get? Like if every data center said, hey, look, in this small town of 2,000 people, we're going to pay everybody $4,000 to keep quiet, odds are there's not going to be a lot of signs up.
Right.
And that's the unfortunate thing. And everybody has a threshold as well. And with this 30% increase, I think people are getting closer to that threshold and people are reaching that threshold. We talked about our clients being a little bit more particular and needing the solar instead of wanting the solar, like the early adopters have kind of gone by the wayside. and the people that are interested in the technology and the environmental impact. And now it's people that just want the result.
Right.
And so we have a lot more, I mean, we still love our clients, but they're a lot more particular because they're not really passionate about it. They just want the end result. They don't necessarily want the product. They just want to save money and be off in a better place.
Everyone wants the benefit of solar.
Right.
And I would say, again, I agree with that. The snowball's definitely gotten a lot larger over the years with the amount of people we've been able to, include with the Sun Collectors family. But the people that truly believed in solar from the get-go, or maybe had it in other states or just seen it or had experienced it beforehand, they reaped the highest rewards in terms of the incentives, the net metering, and it's the same thing that we've said since the beginning. It's always going to be worthwhile. It simply is just always getting harder based off of the way that they have everything structured against us. And so solar is always going to be a better alternative. It's just a matter of when do people hit that pain point of when enough is enough.
Yeah.
And again, I think that every year it's always going to be harder to sit down with people and tell them that, hey, this was available, because I that's one of the hardest parts about my job is someone sits down with me and their friend went solar with us, a year or two ago, and having to explain how much has changed since then. And it's always going to, again, the value proposition is always there. Again, that please give us the opportunity. That's our whole job here, is to make sure that you guys are up to date with what is truly available. And I cannot stress this enough. That is where the numbers still can make sense on an absolute level. I do want to piggyback off a point you just made, though, about solar and just how it's been changing with rates and whatnot. It is a luxury to be able to do this, guys. But with the data centers and what we have, again, coming down the pipeline, the people that cannot do this, I cannot stress this enough, are just going to be succumbing to whatever the power companies do to them. To be able to get away from that and have as much independence as possible, especially with brownouts and blackouts coming down as well, there's only so much that you can do to get away from this if you can't go solar or put batteries on your home. And so for the people that have the ability to do so, I feel like I say this almost every episode, so if it reaches at least one person every time, we'll take it. But the whole idea is at least be open-minded and see what a system could look like for you, because that is the difference between living normally or being at the mercy of the power company whenever the lights are off. And that's very real right now.
Absolutely. And so one of the interesting things about solar, I was talking to someone yesterday about ethanol facilities, because ethanol facilities have always historically been a net negative as far as the input cost is higher than the output gain. And that has been true for so long, and they're subsidized heavily. So, and I was thinking about that on the solar side, like even if you took a total cost of a solar system and bought it outright with no incentives on the state, federal power company, you would still be net negative halfway through a 25-year stint or a 30-year stint, right? So with the power rates going up at the rate they have been, net cost of the system, when we look at this net cost, gross cost of the system, and we look at this all the time, right? So you see the total cost of the system, and down there at the bottom of our proposal, it says what you're going to spend over 25 years.
Right.
Even the total cost is typically half, even at a 5% escalator. So we show our power bills going up by 5% annually and compounding annually, which in reality, we've seen them to go up by 20 or 30% for a while now.
I'm actually glad you brought that up. So
Yeah.
I remember the numbers off of the one I just presented to and signed up over the weekend. And so just off the top of my head, it was a large system, few batteries installed, gorgeous house, but very excited to watch this project move forward. But it's about an $80,000 system. Their net cost after everything was said and done was about $13,000. But then that number, talking about their 25-year cost of doing nothing, was upwards of $200,000. And so the idea
13 or 200, which one do you want?
The idea of having an $80,000 piece of equipment on your home with a out-of-pocket cost over a few years of $13,000 essentially, versus not doing anything and spending essentially $200,000 just for trying to exist and keep your lights on. It's quite little. I mean, again, it's not magic. It's simply math, but I cannot express this enough that graph exists for a reason, where it shows there being an end date to you owning something, as opposed to the exponentially higher amount that you spend over time.
Right.
And I use the term wasting because it is money that you're either going to save or waste if you have the opportunity to do so. Again, if your home is covered in trees, it's a super old roof that can't be, again, there's reasons that you can be disqualified, but alternatively, if you check all the boxes that make sense, it's really meant to be a no-brainer as to what you would rather do with your money. If you have kids, hobbies, anything else that you'd rather do than give your money to the power company at a significantly higher rate as time progresses, that's the solution, and that's what we offer.
Yep. One of the other crazy things that's happened recently is the state level incentive change. So we should probably talk about that and get ahead of it before it bites us in the butt. So one of the cool things about the state level incentive is they increase the price per SREC, or megawatt hour of production, that they pay you out on. But they changed out how it flows, and not really happy about this, and because it's not the best thing for our consumers. I understand a little bit of the argument, but the way it's going to work moving forward is that there's going to be like a 30% or so increase in the total amount of payout, but they're only going to pay you half up front, and then you'll get the other half over 6 years as quarterly payments. So everything always gets more challenging. The solar roller coaster is very real, never gets easier for some freaking reason, but it is a positive, right? You are getting paid out more money. You know, you are going to have income that's coming in over the next 6 years, which is really nice for you. And optimistically, you'll take that money, save it up, invest it or whatever, and then put it into the principal of the system costs,
Right.
right? And it is interesting, Austin, and you're talking about the numbers and, you know, getting that low with 2 batteries installed. It is kind of interesting how much the gross cost goes up, but then the net cost still doesn't really change that much when you add on the batteries. But it's getting people to bite that bullet of saying, hey, look, I understand that all these incentives are real. The Ameren rebates are real. The battery rebates are real. The SREC incentive is real. And the other things that we do are real. So once you conceptualize all of it and understand all of it, the money's there. Like, you're going to be there for 6 years, or somebody's going to be moving in, and the value out of having 2 batteries and a large system, it is going to add value to your home. And speaking add values to your home, if you're one of our solar clients out there listening to this, I was talking to someone who I care for dearly, and he's a leader in the community, but he chose to go with his own realtor with selling his house, and it made it more complicated with our system on it. Please hit us up. We have realtors that we use. We have appraisers that we use to get you the best value add. And we're seeing anywhere from $15,000 to $30,000 without even a battery installed as added value on the system,
Right.
or on your house.
And I do want to add on top of that, guys, the warranty that we install with every single one of our systems, it is a 30-year complete and full coverage. That includes the batteries as well. The value proposition that our systems entail, knowing that your batteries can be replaced if and when they go out and proceed their, let's say, manufacturer warranty, the out-of-pocket cost for not having that, or if you had to replace 2 to 3 batteries down the road at your own expense, would be ridiculous. And so just even from a resale value, say you're in your home where you're like, hey, we know we're going to be here 10 years, maybe 12, 15, and then decide to move. The next homeowners know that they're going to get to ride the remainder of your batteries and then get to have brand new batteries replaced as soon as they hit that threshold. It's a huge selling point. And so the equity is only going to continue to increase as well as Ameren's rates continue to skyrocket on us. And so for anyone that's thinking about this, or, you know, it's more on the number side of things, you're always hedging against inflation. But as these rates continue to go up, everyone's ROI goes down every single time. And so been seeing it very, very conservatively between 2 to 5 years, depending on your system size, as long as you qualify for all the incentives and it makes sense. But that's the whole idea, guys, is that there is a light at the end of the tunnel, as opposed to just staring into, you know, the pitch black, which is Ameren's rates that we can never get away from. And so that's, again, it's really nice to see how everything stacks. Illinois is in a really, I would say, unique area in terms of what we can take advantage of, depending on where you're at in the state. So even if you're not in Peoria, I really want to highlight on that too. You know, Springfield especially, or some areas down there a little bit more south of us. If you're in that location, there's some exceptional incentives that you guys can also take advantage of. So please give us a call if you've been thinking about it. I know all the farmers out there, you guys have nothing but land and opportunity and higher rates. And so again, it's just being able to show you what that alternative is.
Yeah, I want to talk about the farmers for a second, but quick, shoot, I lost my train of thought. Well, let's talk about the farmers for a second, because out in Springfield, when I was down there helping out the guys, talked to a few different farmers, and one of the things that was super concerning and talking about the input costs and inflation across the country is they were talking about the grain prices being 3 times higher, the diesel cost being 2 times higher, and then the fertilizer and pesticides being 3 times higher. So if you have your most basic inputs as an economy into the farmland going up by that degree, and then you have to transport that feed, which is mostly feed corn out here, or ethanol corn, but transporting that feed to then now the cows or the chickens or whatever is then now more expensive because the gas prices are so high.
But
So now your chickens are more expensive, and then your labor is more expensive, and then transporting the chicken meat is more expensive. It's a compounding effect, right? We're talking about macroeconomics here, which is something that's apparently very foreign to a lot of people, but this is basic logic, right? It's basic. And what we say all the time, it is math, not magic when it comes to solar. I am so sick and tired. I'm still pissed, guys. If you've been watching the last few episodes, I'm madder than ever, but I'm trying to hold back a little bit. But the idea of solar being political drives me absolutely freaking nuts. It is technology. It is science. It is, that's it. It doesn't need, it's
trivial
numbers.
that anything higher than that people want to associate it with is ridiculous, guys. The sun is the most abundant source of energy known to mankind. Solar technology has been around since sundials. It's been
Yeah.
around. We've been taking advantage of the sun since the dawn of mankind. We just have figured out how to make it in its most efficient form to date. And we have a 30-year warranty on it. So the whole idea is to take advantage of the abundant source of energy in the sky that shows up to work every day, as opposed to relying on the grid that you get charged more and more for every year. But hey, not everyone qualifies for it. And not everyone can apparently grasp that concept, which is okay. We're here for the open-minded people. But for the love of gosh, please stop associating us with all the politics and all the ugly. Like, we're here to really try and put it straight and true and show you guys that it doesn't need to be higher than simply what your investment is, what the incentives are, and what your value is that you can get out of the system. Anything more than that, it's BS. It doesn't need to be associated with it. Unfortunately, we are at the mercy of the people higher on the totem pole for us. We don't, if Willie and I could make the legislation, we'd have a lot more panels and for a lot better rates.
Be a lot less pages too.
It'd be so much easier. It'd take us half the time to get the shit installed too. But hey, we're here to bring you guys a podcast so you guys can understand what we understand as well. But the whole idea is that we're low enough on the totem pole that that's not necessarily where our decision-making process entails or lies. So what we want you guys to be able to focus on, again, is the value of solar. Do not get caught up in the rigmarole of what you see on Facebook, Instagram. It's there's a reason it's on social media. It's typically slop to begin with. Please understand that your local company is the way to get your best information, especially for a specific and catered design. There's tons of websites out there. If you type in your address, I know you're going to get bombarded with emails, calls. Again, it's not our process. If you submit a form to us, we will call you for a design and a consultation. But we understand that you're reaching out to us for that reason. But that's the whole idea, is that we make you a custom tailored design that shows you what's available for you. And if it's not a good fit, that's part of the conversation as well. We are as vocal and clairvoyant with that. Cannot be any more clear on that.
I want to go back to the value add thing because it's super important to understand this conceptually. And we were talking about solar being a net positive, which is amazing, right? Even the total system cost, even at $80,000 versus $200,000. Well, let's take that net system cost and think about that and talk about the value add and why it adds value. So you're talking about $13,000 as a net system cost, right? And that's what they're paying on monthly after they put all the incentives towards the principal of the loan, right? This is how numbers work for everybody that's listening. But then you take that 13,000 and then you're saying, hey, I have this $80,000 asset on my house. I have 2 batteries. I have power production that's going to offset $200,000 on the low end. I'm moving out in 6 years. I got 24 years left of my warranty. And so would you move into, and ask yourself honestly, would you move into a house that is going to be $30,000 more expensive if it's offsetting around $180,000 and you have 2 backup batteries over a 30-year mortgage at the low interest rate of 5 or whatever we're at now? It's just math. Like, that's why you have to, or not have to, but you should use our realtors when you go to sell. And we're talking about value add before we started the podcast of our company versus one of our competitors. And they are a local competitor, and I really do appreciate my local competitors. But talking about, what's the difference between our company and that? Well, besides the 30-year warranty and the fact that we have networks of realtors and appraisers to get you the most value add, and our customer service and everything else that you're seeing. Unfortunately, though, there's already been one, and rest in peace, Legacy Solar. They were a good company. They did a lot of union work, and they were, a good local competitor. But now, unfortunately, they've had to close their doors, and their people are unnecessarily abandoned, right? So they didn't have the 30-year warranty that we're offering. Now they're relying on another company to do the service work that they're going to charge for. And the same thing with one of the competitors we're going up against. At the end of the day, I hope that they never go out of business, but if they do, or if we do, at least our clients are covered with that 30-year warranty, right? And so there's so much value add we're going through our company and getting the benefits and our network and our, solar social that we do, all the emails, like staying up to date on information. And then also, Austin, just as we're talking about all this, like, how little do our old clients care about the AI data centers and all this other crap?
I imagine that
they got $13 power bills, man. They're sitting back relaxing.
Thank you for saying that. The amount of people, I wish that I could show everyone on the camera right now, but the amount of people that I have gotten pictures of, my mom included, hey mom, but anywhere from $20 to $30 to $40 power bills that they're getting right now, it is so cool. And within the last 2 weeks, I think I've gotten 4. Whether it's going to one of my customers' houses and talking to them, or just getting a picture from them, or talking to people saying, hey, so if any of my customers are listening and you guys are getting your power bills that look awesome, please feel free to send them to me, because I love having this nice little photo album of proof. But I also love, just again, it's one thing to talk about it at your dinner table with you guys and say, hey, this is what's going to happen. it's so beautiful to see the actual, fruition of the systems and see the effects coming in. That is truly what, I mean, as much as this industry has taken my soul and beat me down, that is what gives me that, that motivation to keep going is whenever I get those pictures from my customers saying, "Hey, thank you. This is what, we really wanted in the end." And again, everyone wants the benefit of solar. It is so hard for some people to take that leap. I understand. It is an investment, guys, but it's making sure that you have the company to make that investment with. That is what we're here for. And I cannot stand on that any further, but it does mean the world to me to be able to see your power bills coming back to be that minimal and to know that you guys have, the freedom to do what you would like with your actual finances. That's awesome. So again, with all the negative that we're talking about with these power rates and whatnot, do understand that there is, again, whenever we talk about these solutions, it's not hypothetical. What the people have invested in, they are getting the benefit from, but it does take the actual, again, the process. We've got it down to a science. We have a well-oiled machine on the back end. We do the permitting, we take care of everything on our end, but it does take time. And so right now, everyone could still be installed by the back end of the summer, early in the fall, take advantage of some of our production. But the people that got their systems locked in before last year and got to ride this entire spring, summer, and fall wave, they don't give a shit about the power rate increases, which, excuse my language, but that's the whole idea, guys, is to have that peace of mind, that independence. And I love the idea of peace of mind because some people say you can't put a price on it, but for what it's worth, I can spec out a system for your house and tell you exactly what it's going to be and how much it is out of pocket. And that's the whole, I don't need to keep saying that's the whole point, but guys, it's, we say a lot of information, but at its core, at its principle, it is the most, repetitive basic thing is that we make a system catered for your house and you take advantage of it. You gain independence from the power company and the things that we're discussing, all these doomsday aspects, the data centers that we don't have control over, whether we try to or not, it doesn't have an impact on you. That is the result that we're going for here.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, with these power rates going up by 30%, and then the supply rates, whenever those contracts are up, and it's a little complicated and convoluted when you get into supply, and if it's a commercial contract, and if it's for 2 years, 1 year, a municipality contract, and where all those in. But whenever they renew, it will be higher. There is not enough supply, and if there's not enough supply, they charge people more. And why are they charging you more? It's not just to be greedy, it's to get you to use less power. They charge you more, you'll use less. That way there's more power available for other things, right? It's just supply and demand. They're not trying to be greedy. They're upgrading the infrastructure, this, that, and the other. I'm sure some politicians are involved somewhere, but that's neither here nor there.
I was gonna say, if anyone out there believes that our rates or our whenever we renegotiate, it's ever going to go down, I would love to have you as a guest on the episode to hear your opinion and where that is coming from, because you are more than welcome. I would be more than, but point being that there's no one I feel like that is going to be able to reach out with that.
That's actually a funny thing, dude. So like have you seen the YouTube videos where they're doing like the 20 versus 1? Yeah, so if there's anybody out there that completely disagrees with everything that we are saying and you want to be a part of a video, we're getting together a list of people so we can do a 20 versus 1, 20 versus me. Come up, talk, express your opinions, and we'll argue if solar is a net positive, negative. And so, yeah, so it'll be a really fun way to get my point across and to have a good debate with people and, hopefully change some minds of, correct some ignorance, right? There's so much that people just don't know about solar, and they're so blindsided or have their blinders up because it became political or because their neighbors have been screwed over by another company. Like there's so many things that happen that guard people and make them closed-minded, right?
I've definitely learned over the last year or two that other companies are our best advertisers at this point. We do a damn good job ourselves, but just to be able to, show what malpractices are out there and, just the differences. And again, I'm looking forward to this because there's going to be people that come with a lot of, heat, and they're going to be seeing red, and they're going to have that. I don't want to, yes, there is a level of ignorance, but there is they've been done wrong, and they're allowed to have that, animosity, because if you've been done wrong by a company, you've been left high and dry, you've been lied to. We understand. We know that those practices are out there, and that's why we built our entire infrastructure on the complete opposite. Our foundation has been as, transparent and different as possible compared to the rest of the industry. But that's also every wave that comes down as a new year, we're on the other side of it. And damn it, these waves keep getting bigger, but we're still there. But I really cannot stress that enough, that the albums that we have concocted and, accumulated over the years, and just on the local area. You go national, it doesn't get better per se, but there are so few companies out there compared to, I would say we're maybe 1 to 5% of solar companies compared to the 95% of the industry that
nowadays, man, like all the good ones have gone. Like all the small ones are gone. Like there's, with the tax credit going around the country, we might be a 0.5% or 1% of all this left.
For sure.
This is on the reputation and how we do things, and still doing ownership only, staying away from leases and power purchase agreements. So if you don't know that, we don't do leases and power purchase agreements. It's not the best thing for you.
Again, everything is designed for a reason this way. Again, if my wrestling coach ever hears one of these episodes, I hope that he does, but he beat this into me in high school in the best way possible. You do it right, you do it light, you do it wrong, you do it long. I apply that philosophy with every one of my projects. I know we apply it on the back end, from the install to the servicing to the communication with our project management. The entire process is designed a specific way to make sure that you have as much peace of mind and appreciation through what we do. That is one of the biggest complaints in our industry, is that people sign up, their rep is gone or back into whatever state he actually lives in. They have no process or service on the back end. It's some customer service line for this menu price, blah blah blah, or for this department. That's a nightmare. That is an absolute nightmare, especially whenever you simply just want to know that your system is operating or that you can get simple answers. We have your own personal project management. We have our own office in Peoria. We have actually 2 offices in Peoria. We do community events 2 to 3 to 4 times a month. So the amount of opportunities that you have to see us, whether it be publicly, we're easy to get a hold of. We want you to be in communication with us, but that's our whole representation here, is that we're a company for you, and we're not going, our servicing is going to be here whether Will and I are not, because the amount of installs that we're taking care of, not only ourselves, but these other companies that have just not been able to withstand the test of time. That's, it is part of the underbelly of the industry that you do have to acknowledge. But that is something that, again, our entire process is meant to make sure that that's not something that our customers are ever going to experience. And that is, I cannot say that to the nth degree, but that is why I will never represent another solar company, is because no one else can give that peace of mind. And no one else does that for the community the way that we do.
So Austin, I was at the Rotary Club on Friday, which you need to be going to them more often because you would love it and it's amazing. But neither here nor there. So there was a organization speaking, and the idea, and I can't remember the name, so I apologize to the organization. I saw the name the whole time you were giving your spiel. But the idea is to bring people from the hyper red and hyper left into the same room and have not a debate, but a conversation to get them to understand each other better. Not to change anybody's mind to one side or the other, but just to get to where you can see where the other person's coming from. And bigger than that, they have workshops that they do. And one of the things that they had was walk a mile in my news, which was really interesting. So like bring in what you're seeing on Facebook on the far left side and the far right side, because if you go on both sides, either side of either one, man, it's all false, right? Like it's all emotional and all like, just trying to get people
that algorithm working.
Yeah. So it's like, I thought that was a really interesting perspective, and to see what the good, like the hyper left and the hyper right is. The same kind of thing with that 20 versus 1. Like, hey, here's what's really going on. I know you've seen all this stuff. Here's some things that are true and not true. And there are really bad apples in the industry. And again, nobody will ever hate solar more than I hate solar. That is a fact. And it's not the solar panel, it's not the technology, it's what solar has become, right? So we got a couple of announcements and some cool things that we're doing that are a little bit new, and reasons why we haven't been in the podcast studio here recently. But so because of everyone's power rates going up by 30% and them feeling the pain and us wanting to help people, for the month of June, this month only, we are going to cover people's first year of solar payments. So you get signed up in June, you get installed in August, maybe, depends on what time your time frame is. And then your monthly payment would start up 30 days after, and we'll cover that monthly payment for the solar, not the batteries, but for the solar for a year. So that means that you're not having to pay for solar. Your power bills will start going down as your production goes up and as your credits accumulate. But the idea is to help people that are hurting right now. And we feel your pain. And honestly, this would be the worst time to do something like this, but we're a little radical as a company. Power rates are going up. Why would we need to incentivize people more? It's just to take care of you, right? It's to know that there's light at the end of the tunnel, so you can stop stressing so much about your income, how you're spending your money, making sacrifices, and us just help take care of you. So again, for the month of June, we are covering people's first year of solar payments. Do not miss that. Do not miss that, because that's so much money on the front end.
Segues you so well into the winter season too, like during Christmas and all that. Your Thanksgiving, you have 1,000 other things going on, and you don't have to. Not having to worry about the solar payments, but then knowing that it's taken care of. You've taken advantage of all the incentives that are available at their highest, and then you're just done with it. You've checked it off your to-do list for the next 30 to 40 years. You can just mark off power and blackouts and Well, that's it's just
All the
it's
things.
just not really a it's just, you can breathe a little bit easier. And then whenever the grid goes out, you can still go down and grab the steak out of your deep freezer and cook it because it didn't get ruined. And your Wi-Fi is still on, so you can still call your grandkids and make sure that their power is still out, so they can come over to your house because you have light and power. And it's a beautiful thing, guys. It truly is, and that's yeah. I mean, look into it.
Yeah.
Don't be scared.
Yep. The other thing we got going on is Solar for a Cause. So this is a new initiative that we're super excited about. We started out with CASA. If anybody doesn't know who CASA is, please look them up, understand them a little bit better. But they are helping the children out in our community stuck in the court system. So Solar for a Cause. So if you mention CASA or you're a part of CASA or a referral from CASA, and you go solar with us or even sit down for an appointment, we give $100 to CASA. If you go forward with solar, we give $2,000 to CASA.
Oh, nice.
And then we're also doing this. We're launching it on the 1st, so June 1st. We're launching it with Best Buddies as well. And so we're super excited to be working with these two organizations, and hopefully there'll be many more organizations to come to where we'll be able to do more for them, right? We've always been big proponents of solar and philanthropy and taking care of the community because we do feel that solar should be a net positive for everyone involved. But what we're doing now is a little bit more interesting, right? So imagine 20 people go solar through CASA. That's $40,000 to CASA. 20 people go through Best Buddies.
How many
That's
kids is that
40,000. Exactly, right? It's
It's
really
more
open
than
to mind.
just the panels, guys. That's the whole idea. We make solar look sexy, but at the same point in time, it's about having a much bigger impact between the the tipping bigs, the sporting teams, the systems that we've donated to visit, like everything that we do, the sponsorships between like the organizations that we're part of, repairing the reputation of solar and showing that it can have a positive and a bright impact on the community is really, I mean, it's bringing it all together. That's cool though, in terms of what we're doing with those organizations. I do want to reiterate just for people for the first, whenever Will says that we're covering the first year of payment, I don't want there to be any skepticism behind that because I want people to understand how real this is. On the day of your install, if whoever it is that signs you up, probably me, I will hand deliver you this check, whatever that quantity or whatever that dollar amount is. There's no funny business. I'm handing you a physical check for that dollar amount for you to deposit. You can do whatever you want with it. You can go to the boat, double it, and be, or lose it.
Optimism.
Yeah, I was gonna say, however, Lady Luck is, rolling that night. But the whole idea would be that it's as straight up as that can be. We're not expecting this back. The whole idea is that we are segueing you through that first year as, peace of mind giving as we can. And that's it, guys. If you're wanting to take advantage of what's here, knowing that we also have these two programs that we're backing up on the back end as well. There's 1,000 reasons to do it, and everyone can always think of 1,001 reasons why never to, be open-minded to it.
Right.
So I'm here to give you 1,002 reasons to be back on board to look into it again. But guys, it's now or it's always going to be solar. I should say now. I can't say now or never because in another year, solar's still going to make
There's
sense.
such a big runway ahead of
It's
us.
just going to be, again, it's just going to get worse as the incentives and the legislation keep beating the industry down. And that's not ever to be a fear monger. But again, if you go back through and read the titles of episodes, unfortunately, the negatives just typically don't outweigh or highly outweigh the positives in terms of what our industry gets to inform us with every month or so.
Absolutely. But yeah, as far as this episode, I think we're pretty much done here. If you are one of our current clients, don't forget about the referral program and the ambassador program. Sign up for the ambassador program and you get 10 referrals and we'll send you anywhere in the world for up to $4,000 for a trip for you and your family. So the ambassador program is awesome. Referrals are awesome. You get $500 per referral that you send over that signs up. And keep in mind, we're covering people's first year of solar payments. So if you have a friend out there complaining, if you have a business out there complaining, please share the information, like and subscribe, and we'll see you next episode on the Solar Power Hour.
And check out the Facebook page for Tipping Big for the community. I want to see more of you guys out there. More people need to come and tip big for the community. We're changing lives every month. All right. Thank you for checking in for the Solar Power Hour.
Peace out, Peoria.